Hey, everybody, welcome back. Today's guest is a powerhouse business and mindset coach who transforms the lives of high achieving women. She was in corporate world for over 20 years and
Yeah.
built a six-figure coaching business by mastering the art of resilience and mindset. Are you ready to learn how to break through your own barriers and achieve your goals? If so, you are in the perfect spot right now. Help me welcome Shelley Bosworth to the show. How are you, Shelley?
I am absolutely fantastic. I'm so excited to be here. So thank you so much for inviting me to join you.
You are so welcome. I am so excited to have you here too, because going through your website, your social media, I am like, oh my gosh, I have so many questions. So many questions. One of the perks of being a podcast host is that I get to ask the questions that I have. And usually my audience has them too. And I get to learn in the process. So I love this. And I am so grateful to have you here. So to start off, let's talk about when you were in the corporate world. You were in that for
Mhm.
over 20 years. Is it 25
Mhm.
years?
Yeah, 25. I started when I
Okay.
was 10, right? No, yes,
Yeah.
25 years in the corporate world. Yes, yeah,
Oh,
25
so
years.
after all that time doing your thing and being
Mhm.
successful in the corporate world, what made you shift? What happened?
Yeah, so really short version of the story is that so I was not miserable in the corporate world. I always throw that bit out now. And when I say I wasn't miserable, I loved my work. Absolutely loved my work, loved my job, loved my team. In fact, what I loved the most about my work was that I got to create this incredible team, support and develop people to be the best that they could be. See the theme there and how I ended up in coaching.
Yes.
But what happened, we all have our pivot point, don't we? We all have our story, and somewhere along the line, many of us, particularly as entrepreneurs, have got a pivot point when something changes. And as I said, the really short version is sadly, and it's to get the violins out, we went through a really rough few years. By we, I mean my husband and I. My husband lost both of his parents in a very short period of time. And we were both in the corporate world. We were both working all the hours, earning very well. We had the car, the house, the handbags. He didn't, I did. We had all the stuff and we had the lovely holidays. But when we went through that, we started to question everything and kind of just really evaluate what was important.
Mm.
And so, and I should point out, my husband is still in the corporate space. I also turned 40 during that period of time that we were going through all this personal challenge. So I kind of came out the other side of 40, like 40 is a big one. Came out the other side of 40. We'd gone through what we'd gone through. And I was just like, what are we doing? Or more importantly, what am I doing? Is this enough? And the answer to that question was no. I didn't know what was enough, but I knew that something wasn't right. Something was just telling me there's more. I'm meant for more. I've got to find out what it is. And so I worked with a coach. And I worked with a good coach. I didn't get all of my answers, but one of my answers was, this is intriguing. How does this work then? And so what I actually did as a result of working with a coach was go explore, discover, and begin training as a coach. And so I trained myself as a personal performance life coach, qualified, and I thought what I would do is over the next 5 years, I would transition out of corporate. That was 5 years ago, but I actually left my corporate career some 6 months after that. Because the more I got into the coaching world, the more people I coached, the more I wanted to do. And very quickly, I realized I couldn't maintain my corporate career and build what I was building on the side. And so, yeah, I left the corporate space at the back end of 2019, like literally December 2019, ready for new year, new decade, 2020. I was coming for you. And of course, something else came for all of us, which is where that resilience piece started to play in. So my path and my journey changed quite quickly. And I had to pivot my entire business model that I had planned to launch and grow. And I started doing huge amounts of work with mindset, worked with a ton of women that were going through so much in the pandemic year. And the evolution of that was that Shelley Bosworth coaching became all about supporting women to really build courage, build resilience, come through the tough stuff we come through. Of course, COVID was one of the toughest, and go for their goals in life. So hopefully that answered that question.
Yeah, it does. And what a leap. Just out of curiosity, did the coach that you
Yeah.
had before, when you made the
Yeah.
decision like, "Hey, I wanna learn to coach," did she help coach you to get started for this career?
That's a
Or did you
really
like,
great,
"I'm
you know,
gonna"
that is a great question. And actually, no, she didn't. Although we stayed in contact for a period of time. I do still know her. I don't have as much contact with her now. And I did go back and explain to her, like, you were kind of the inspiration for this. So thank you. But actually, as I embarked upon that journey, I met other coaches. And as I kind of evolved, I mean, I evolved quite quickly. I found the next right coach for me. But I do
Oh,
thank
perfect.
her because it was that experience that led me to go, right, how does this work? What she did do was point me in some good directions around how I could go and embark on this journey.
And that's so important, and I love that you said, "I found the right coach for me," because
Yeah.
there's first off, there's a ton of coaches, and there are some really amazing ones and some not so great ones, and if we look at even the ones that are really amazing, you have to find the coach that fits your personality, fits your goals, like, that aligns with you, and you could have 2 great coaches, and you may choose one just because of something very small, but it's very important too.
So important. And actually, what's really important there, I mean, you said, there are some amazing coaches. I won't get on my soapbox about the other side of the coin,
Yeah,
but actually, it is finding your amazing coach, someone that I think is amazing. You might not find amazing because it's about us
right.
finding the person that's the right fit for us and the right person to help us get to where we're trying to get to, or at least work out where we're trying to get to, which is often what a coach is there to help you do too.
Right, right, absolutely. So I'm going to back it up a little bit and I'm going to get real basic with you. We're talking about
Mhm.
mindset. And even though you
Yeah.
hear that word mindset used a lot, there are still people that
Mhm.
may not really know what that is and why it even matters for your success. So can you
Yeah.
explain a little bit about mindset?
Of course. So this is my version of how I describe it. I should put that out there straight away. So what I always say is the clues in the title, mindset. Okay. So your mindset is the setting of your mind. And what I mean by that is through our lives, I mean, we come into this world, right? We're born and we know nothing. Okay. We come
Mhm.
in with no opinion, no knowledge, and we learn. And we learn all the way through our lives from all the people around us, all the experiences we have. And so your mindset is the accumulation of all your years and everything you have learned about yourself and the world around you and your place in that world. And the brilliant part about all of that, because that's not always brilliant, I should point out, but we don't always have an awareness of it. The brilliant part about that is you can shift and change your mindset. And that's where I come in, because sometimes that mindset we have is brilliant, it's perfect, and it's everything we need it to be to move us forward. Sometimes, and sadly more often than not, it can be limiting for us. And so a lot of the work I do is around helping people understand that everything that goes on in here, it's okay, acknowledge it, but we can do something with it if it's not helping you. And it's simply accumulation of everything you have learned about yourself and the world around you.
Yes, and it could be good and bad. I know when I
Absolutely.
first started in my business, I really had a scarcity mindset. And I was,
Right.
I would get bothered if somebody was doing the same thing that I did, or I felt the competition and, I would be like, oh my goodness, like, what am I going to do? And I had to learn to shift that. I didn't realize that's what
Yeah.
I was doing, but I had to learn to do that to say there's more than enough for everybody. It does not bother me anymore. But if I'm being really honest, I wish I could get control of that imposter syndrome that sneaks in every so often. I'm like, "Oh, I got this under control," and I do for a hot minute, and then something
Right.
happens. So, how first, can you explain imposter syndrome? And then I'll
Of
ask you another
course.
question about it.
Yeah. So, brilliant question. And actually, thank you for being really honest. I'm going to throw in straight away. I think that anybody that says they don't experience imposter syndrome is either telling themselves a fib or is not growing. So, my first reframe is actually imposter syndrome is a good thing. It means you're stepping out of your comfort zone, it means you're growing to the next level. It's bringing an uncomfortable feeling. It's also a label that's getting bandied around an awful lot, a bit like,
Right.
coaching. Everybody's a coach and everybody's had or got imposter syndrome. But the definition, so just for the kind of the really simplistic description of what imposter syndrome is, and I think everyone will resonate with this one. She says with her hand up. Imposter syndrome is that feeling that we're going to get found out because we're not actually as good as we think we need to be. We're going to get found out. Someone's going to realize that we're not perfect. Someone's going to realize that we don't know everything about everything. Spoiler alert, you're never going to know everything about everything, and you don't need to. It's that feeling that we're not good enough. That it's that feeling that we don't deserve to be in the room. And that's the piece that, and I've used those words 3 times out. It's that feeling. Imposter syndrome is a feeling, not a thing. And we are in control of our feelings. We just don't realize it. Like we don't realize we can shift our mindset because nobody teaches us this stuff. And so
Right.
what I loved the most about what you said there was, like, I see it, I know what it is now. And I'd say to all my clients, awareness is the first step of change, but it's the second step that makes the difference. And that's doing something with the awareness. So
How do
hopefully that
you do
explains
it though?
imposter
Like
syndrome.
how, and I don't want you to give all your secrets away, right? Because we've
That's
got
all right,
something at
have
the
fun
end. But
with it.
but is there like how do you like kick that imposter syndrome to the curb when it creeps in?
I'll start there. I'm more than happy to share. Like,
Okay.
I'm like a broken record, okay? I keep things really simple, and I essentially use the same stuff on myself. And this is why, I have no fear that I'll ever be out of a job, because imposter syndrome isn't a fix it and that's it, we're done. We're cured for life, okay? Because as we grow, it comes back. As we grow, new level, new devil, they say. So we grow to the next level, and then another little sneaky thought comes in. So here's my 3 steps that I'll share with the world. I said awareness is the first step of change. So I always say, catch it, challenge it, change it. So what do I mean? Catch it. Notice what you're thinking, what you're feeling. Okay.
Mm,
Challenge it. And that is just check in with yourself. Okay, this thing that I'm telling myself, I'm not good enough. Is that really true? What evidence do I actually have that that is true? Because most of the time, it's not. It's
right.
story in our minds. We are great at creating like the worst case scenario. So catch it, challenge it, and then change it. And you change it by challenging your own thought process. So is that, am I really not good enough? What evidence at all is there that I'm not good enough to be in this room? Okay, there isn't any evidence at all. It's in my mind. It's a thought I'm having and I've decided is true. Okay, well, if there's no evidence, perhaps I can change it. I said to
Right.
somebody at the weekend, I was like, I just use as a really simple real life example. It's like, we've all met somebody in life that we didn't like when we first met them. They just jarred maybe a little bit.
Right.
But I guarantee we've also all met someone that we didn't like at first, but then we did. If we can change our minds about someone else, we can change our minds about ourselves. That's
Ooh.
how we work through imposter syndrome. So catch it, challenge it,
That's
change
really
it.
good. I like that. I like that what you just said. If we can change our minds about somebody else, we can change our minds about us.
Yeah,
So simple, but so powerful because I think it's easier to change our minds about somebody else because we
absolutely.
see their actions and we're like, okay, they're if you didn't like them at first, they're kind of proving themselves to you in a sense. And but we ignore what we do. So I
Yeah,
like that. I love that.
there you
So
go.
I have a question. Yeah, I'm taking that tip for sure. So you work with obviously a lot of women and with
Mhm.
mindset and resilience.
Mhm.
And how, when they come to you, is there like a theme of common barriers that might hold them back from actually taking action? Like instead of just wishing and hoping, like actually they're doing. Do is there something common there that you've seen a trend or everybody's very different?
So no, there is absolutely a common trend, and I'm about to cast the biggest aspersion across the female population of the world. But here we go.
I love
It
it.
is literally so. Look, you can give it all the names. You can call it the imposter syndrome. We can talk about the comparison. We can talk about self doubt, and it is fundamentally self doubt. Women are we're nightmare. I'm in this camp too. Just so we're clear, I am not perfect. I am, the opposite of not having self doubt isn't being 100% confident and arrogant. Okay, everybody I've ever worked with, I'm not saying that they've always come to me with this, but we always kind of peel back the layers, and there is a question of doubting ourselves, and it becomes exacerbated in today's world because we have moved into this online world. This, if I dare to say it, kind of smoke and mirrors piece. We're looking at what everybody else is doing and
Mm,
constantly telling ourselves, I need to be more, I should be. And making our own stories up about those people too. And which is similar to that piece you just said. Like, it's always easier to change our mind about somebody else than it is about ourselves. It's easier to look at everybody else than it is to look within ourselves. But what happens then is we're looking at everybody else and we're creating an entire story about ourselves as a result of what we're looking at. Did that make sense? I just said.
It makes
Um,
complete sense.
and
Complete
it's
sense.
it's literally the number one thing. It always, and it's our mindset, because a lot of it will be then underpinned by
Right.
our beliefs about ourselves and the world around us.
That's so true. And when I'm not a podcast host, I actually have a digital marketing agency. So when we talk about social media, I even see that with my clients a lot, where they may want to change their content on social or change their whole website because they heard somebody speak who they really like and respect and who's successful. And they're like, okay, I want to do everything like this person. And I'm like, "But you're not that person." And it's actually challenging to get them to realize, like, you have your own gifts. Like, don't try to duplicate it because you're gonna fail if you're not really who you are. So,
Yeah.
yes, I get that 100%. And I think social media has made it worse. Do you
Yeah.
agree? Because
Oh, it's a
see?
blessing and a curse, isn't it? I mean, look,
Yes.
I have a love-hate relationship with social media. I am thankful to social media. I mean, it's how I met you. You know, I'm
Yes,
thankful to
absolutely.
social media for the connections and what it gives us. But my God, it can be a curse for us as well if we do not recognize it for the tool that it is and do not recognize the impact it can have. And that's which comes back to that awareness piece. But it
Yeah.
100% exacerbates the self-doubt, the comparison piece. We've got to learn, we have to learn for ourselves to manage ourselves within that. Yeah, it's, I mean, you said it earlier on, there are a lot of coaches. Yeah, tell me about it. You know, I'm one of hundreds of thousands. And if I spent all of my time looking at what everybody else is doing, well, I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation because I'd never move forward.
Yes.
I, you know, yeah,
Yeah. I almost make it
yeah,
intentional to avoid other people who, I have to pay somewhat of attention because I have to know the
mm,
competition when I am
of course,
doing everything on the back end, right? But I day to day, I will ignore, kind of unfollow if I can unfollow. I still liking giving them credit because I like them, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
try to get
yeah.
them out of my view because even though I'm aware of it, I know how easy it is to fall into that. I don't want to fall into that. So my thing is to not see it and just keep doing me, right?
Do you know what? It's one of the key tactics. You know, there's 3 or 4 tactics I give to people when they're in that spiral or that cycle or that's something that's holding them back. And one of them is
Yeah.
unfollow the triggers. You know,
Yeah.
you're in control of that decision, and so make the decision to protect yourself if that's
Yeah.
what you need to do. It's, you know, we all make a choice. And the people that are looking at you, they're making a choice. Now go make your choice about what you want to look at. Because if it's not helping
It's
you,
very
don't
true.
look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I never think about people who are watching me. I'm like, but you're right.
Yeah.
So I have a question, another question, right?
Yeah.
So do you have any like routines or habits that you implement to make sure that you stay positive and that you continue to have a resilient mindset?
Yes, I do. So the first thing, and I'm just going to catch on that, staying positive. So I am a really honest, real, raw, keep it real coach, and I'm a really positive person, as I'm sure is, you know, I'm hoping is coming across right now. But we
Yeah.
also all have tough days, okay? And so what I'm not about is the toxic positivity of just think positive, because
Mm,
actually sometimes we just got to embrace that we're not okay today. My point is don't stay there. It's use the tactics to move yourself through. So, what are
yeah.
my tactics? And I do have routines, and then I have tactics I have to come to on a tough day. But one of my key routines, and it's, you know, it's one of the simplest in the book. I do start every day after my cup of tea. I should just point out, I start every
Okay.
day with a cup of tea. And then the second thing I do when I've had I can't function without my cup of tea. But the second thing I do is every morning I take time just to reflect and make a note of what I'm thankful for, what I'm grateful for today.
Mm,
And if I'm struggling on a day, like if I feel like I'm having one of those days where it's just a bit of a tick box exercise, like, you know, today I'm grateful for my cup of tea. Actually, what I do is I think about the day before, and I will think
mm,
about 3 things that made me smile yesterday, because that can then move me back into. So for me, starting my day with
yeah.
that mindset is the most important thing. And I do a lot. I actually use the practice during the day as well. So if I'm having a tough moment, if something doesn't go according to plan, I'll bring myself back to now. Okay, well, what have I got to be grateful for? What have I got that's gone well so far today? What have I got coming up that I think is going to go well? So it's kind of my grounding
I
ritual, if
love
you like.
that. Yeah, I had a gratitude journal for a long time and I got away from it. And I actually yesterday was going through things I wanted to do again. And I'm like, I want to have that because I did it mainly when I was going through a divorce. And there were some days that I put, I'm grateful that the sun shined today and it wasn't cloudy. Like it was so basic some days because it was really a challenging time for me. So I
Yeah.
love that you said that, which is going to motivate me now to get a new journal because I love journals and to write
Honestly,
things.
I was really, so when I first started this journey, I was really cynical about kind of all the practice, the gratitude. I don't meditate. I'm not very good at visualization, as in the meditation and visualization techniques.
Yeah.
But for me, gratitude is one of the simplest. And what it does is it brings us back to now. And the challenge with our mindset is what's going on most of the time is we're either caught in a past scenario and
Yeah.
replaying, or we're thinking about a future that hasn't even happened. Whereas gratitude is about right here, right now, the only thing that
Yeah.
truly matters. And I'm all for goals in the future, but yeah, we can get caught in the past, create a future that hasn't even been created yet. Gratitude brings me back to now.
I love that. I really, really do. So, how do you balance your personal goals and your professional goals? Because they, like it or not, they mesh together, right? So when
They
business
do,
is
yeah.
great, personal's challenging, it affects your business and vice versa. Is how do you balance it all?
That's a real, you know, it's a brilliant question. And I'm not sure, I don't know if this is the right answer to say. I'm not sure I do. And what I mean by that is actually balance is a bit of a myth. You know, they're never in total balance. So I talk about
Right.
this a lot with work-life balance. What I talk about instead of work-life balance is work-life harmony. Because actually sometimes a professional goal is more important to me and going to take more of my energy than the personal. What I do remind
Yeah.
myself of is why I'm doing things because they are intrinsically linked. I run my business. I love what I get to do. I feel grateful every day that I get to do this for a living. And hey, I get paid for it too. But I will be
Right.
really honest. I run my business to make money for the life that I want to live too. I want to make a difference to people. And would I do it for free? Yeah, if I had everything else taken care of, but I don't. So right now, I do it to get paid too. And the brilliance of that is I get to do something I love and I get to earn a living, which is helping me create the life that I want to live. So I guess it's always bringing it back to why am I doing this? I want to make a difference to people, but I also want to make a difference to me in my life with my husband. Um, there isn't a perfect balance. Sometimes
Yeah.
personal needs more of me, sometimes work needs more of me. But I check in, I guess, and that is something I'm quite good at. I do check in. Is something out of alignment here? Am I in the wrong, am I a little bit too far in the wrong direction? And I have a
Yeah.
husband that does tend to give me feedback if there needs to be.
Just in case you're missing it.
Yeah. To be fair, that works both ways, though. To be fair, that is, I'm very fortunate. We have a great relationship, and that's one thing I'm grateful for. But
Yeah.
we work hard at that relationship too. So
Right. Absolutely. I'm sure. I'm sure. I love what I'm hearing from you is this theme of just being personally aware and
yeah,
just really stepping outside of yourself and being aware of imposter syndrome, being aware of maintaining that balance, being aware of what you're thinking and how to change that. So that awareness I hear is just, it's really important to do that
yeah,
and not to point the
yeah,
finger and blame the circumstances or people around you for what's
absolutely.
happening.
And you have nailed it in what you just described. And actually, you tell what you do for a living outside of your podcast, clearly. Because you know what? That is everything I stand for. It's about
Yeah.
taking responsibility for oneself. And actually, as someone that, and I'll be really honest with everyone that's listening, I had a bit of a light bulb moment in my 30s where I realized I was fighting so hard against where I'd come from. What I wasn't doing was fighting for the future I wanted, for the life I was trying to create. And my energy was going in the wrong direction. But that was my responsibility. I'm the one in charge of my fights, my feelings, yes, there are external influences, but actually that was such a light bulb moment for me. I've always been a relatively positive person, but actually there was conflict. And I'm all about the future. And yet I wasn't allowing myself to let go of what was holding me back. And so for me, that awareness was a massive pivot moment for my life. And then that kind of evolved and evolved and evolved. And that's my superpower. That's what I help women do, have that awareness in themselves and then work out what to do with it.
I love that because it's so hard sometimes. Like if you feel stuck or you're feeling overwhelmed, it sounds so easy what you're saying, but sometimes it's really hard to figure out how you're getting in your own way. You know
Yeah.
you're getting in your own way, but
Yeah,
you're
but you
not sure
can't
what needs to
see.
change.
No, no,
Right.
no, you can't. And and so many of my clients come to me because they're in that exact position and they're literally frustrated at themselves. They know they're getting in their own way, but they can't see. You know, it's like blinkers that a horse wear, isn't it? They can't see,
Right.
how do I get out? What do I do differently? And actually,
Right.
it's all kind of, forgive me, going on in it's all back into the mindset. It all starts there.
It does. It absolutely does. I buy into that 100%. My degree's in psychology, so I love the brain and I love
You
all that stuff.
know, yeah, yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
you are speaking my language right now. If you could give one piece of advice to women in business who are right now, they're feeling stuck, they're feeling overwhelmed, and they're like, ugh, what can I do? What would that advice be?
Crikey, that's a big question.
It is because I know we've
One
talked about
piece of
so
advice.
much.
I know. One piece of advice. Okay. My one piece of advice would be just look at you. Remind yourself where you've come from, what you've done, what you've achieved. Show yourself what you're capable of, and you'll be able to take the next step forward.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So if you are listening right now, Shelley actually has a resource that she's going to share with us. It's called 5 Steps to Unlock What's Holding You Back. It's the link to this resource is in the podcast notes. It's if you're watching this on YouTube, just scroll down a little bit. The link is there. But Shelley, can you tell us a little bit more about what this resource is all about?
Yeah, so I referenced my Catch It Challenge It Change It. This is kind of the deeper version of that. It
Oh,
literally will take you through 5 steps to that first stage of awareness, identifying what might be getting in the way at the moment and how you can work through to come out the other side and change that mindset. Start to change your own mindset about you, therefore taking the action that you desperately want to take.
oh, perfect. Perfect. I can't wait to get my hands on it. This is going to be so exciting. Shelley, thank you so much for coming on today. This has
Thank you
been
for having
such
me.
a wonderful conversation. I know that I'm going to replay it after after we're done and I'm going to start on my gratitude journal, take some notes. So, thank
Fantastic.
you so much for everything.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. For everybody that wants to connect with Shelley, in the show notes, just take a look and all of her links are there. So I would definitely recommend connecting with her because even on her Instagram, she shares a lot of really cool tips. So it's worth checking out. All right, everybody, we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.